This is Psychology 7540 Statistics. Today I'm going to talk about which statistical test to use. So I'm going to go through a few of the most common statistical tests. One statistical test is an independent samples t-test. So you use that when you're comparing the mean scores of two groups. So this is used in the classic experiment when you have a control group and an experimental group. Let's say you're measuring depression or anxiety or frustration for the two groups. You would use a t-test to see if group A is significantly different from group B. Another type of t-test is called a related samples t-test. So for this, you compare pairs of scores. This would typically be used when you have a pre-test versus a post-test. So if you have a group, you give them a treatment, and you want to see if their depression is lower after the treatment than it was before the treatment, you would use a related samples t-test. A one-way between subjects analysis of variance, or one-way ANOVA, compares the mean scores of three or more groups. So this is just an expansion of an independent samples t-test. With an independent samples t-test, you're comparing the means of two groups. If you have three or more groups, then you would use a one-way analysis of variance. So in a one-way ANOVA, you have one independent variable with more than two levels, and you have one dependent variable, something that you're measuring. Now, correlation is one of the most useful techniques in the social sciences. It tells you the degree to which two variables relate to each other. It tells you the magnitude of the relationship, how strong the correlation is, and it also tells you the direction. So if you have a positive correlation, when one variable goes up, the other one goes down. When you have a positive correlation, if one goes up, the other one goes up. If you have a negative correlation, that means one variable goes up, the other one tends to go down. Correlation can range from -1, which is a perfect negative correlation, to +1, which is a perfect positive correlation. If two things are unrelated, that's a correlation of 0. If you have a number in between, that's a moderate correlation. Just to give you an idea of what correlations mean, think about a correlation of 0.40. When I did my dissertation, I looked at the attractiveness of couples. 0.4 is the correlation between two members of a couple. So walk down the street, look at couples, and you'll find that sometimes they match in attractiveness, sometimes they're a little different. That's a 0.4 positive correlation. Chi-square tests. Chi-square tests are used to see if there's a significant relationship between two nominal or categorical variables. So the example that I have here looks at gender, men and women, versus preferred type of ice cream, vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry. So you can see in this example here, women are more likely to prefer vanilla and strawberry, and men are more likely to prefer chocolate. So a chi-square test would see if that's strong enough to be generalizable. So that's several of the most common statistical tests.